Those of you who produce music with AI, I'm pretty sure you've seen the headlines on YouTube or just on your favorite news headlines on your web browser. Suno is making a new policy change, adding a footprint, which they already had a footprint, but they're changing the footprint and they're going to limit the amount of downloads you have based on your subscription. Most likely, they're going to target the upper tier subscribers. And I say that because YouTube is doing the same thing in their own way with the middle tier partner program, not the top tier, because they're also limiting YouTube subscribers in their own way to not make money. Now, we're not saying that Suno is doing the same thing. It's just Suno, um, like other AI companies, are fighting the war with AI copyright, AI copying, influence, generation, stuff like that. And the biggest argument is AI music still like a musician producing music, whether it's with an instrument or digital tools? Is AI a tool? Sadly, from someone who has been dealing with digital for a very long time, it is a digital tool. Now, they have had artists say that. It's a digital tool, it's just the difference is it allows you to produce music faster. That's the reality of it. Yes, it may be pulling from other sources, whether it's copyrighted or not, but keep in mind, a lot of artists who use digital tools were already getting music like that. They just had it, either copyrighted or it was basically monetized under a distributor, whether it was free copyrighted music that sounded similar to an artist you already knew, or it was an actual sample from the artist that the artist allowed to be distributed through the distributor to be sold. It was still influential because I can tell you other years I've looked at loops and beats. A lot of it most likely is very similar to the original beat. A lot of music has been remixed over the years. They even have artists doing cover art or cover music art that is a form of a remix of the original piece. But the fear is, which has always been the fear, depending on what side of the fear you're on, am I going to get royalties from somebody using my music? That's been the fear, right? Okay, you know what? What people don't really say is if you're famous, you're going to have a fan base. Period. They're going to buy your stuff. Even if it's copied, they're going to still buy your stuff. You're going to have a loyal fan base. They just don't want the new fan base to like the copy. Now, the copy will not outweigh the original. Because, in my opinion, a lot of times a copy is not the same as the original unless the person who does the remix or whatever can make it sound better, and that's very rare. So, with the big stir up, and people might actually leave Suno because they don't want their music footprinted, and then it's already being demonetized and examined by other distributors and platforms. If you're concerned about that, there are other music generators. I found one that was very similar. And it's funny because what's interesting about this one, I came across it, I believe, on Instagram, sponsored ads. And the word that caught my attention, and it's the keyword, was GPT. Now, I don't know if this has got anything to do with OpenAI or a subsidiary of ChatGPT. Now, I know, again, same problem. People do use certain acronyms from the original concept and change the first few words, whatever, to spin the conceptual word because it's catchy. prime example. Microsoft was the first to pull a numeric acronym with the number 360. Everyone else, corporate-wise, followed suit. There was no lawsuit, which is kind of strange. If you was a third party, whatever, you probably would have got hit with copyright infringement. So I can't guarantee you this is something that's tied to ChatGPT, but from me playing around with this, it is amazing. Like, it is on par with Suno. To be honest, it is the closest music generator I have found that is almost similar with the output and quality of the music with less paywall limitations. So, and I'm not saying jump ship, but I'm just saying if you don't like the policy changes that Suno is taking, if you don't really care for the paywall and the paywall restrictions, because the paywall restrictions on Suno is a bit annoying, and in my personal opinion, I prefer to use 11 Labs because 11 Labs kind of jumped into the game on the music side around the time Suno was getting a lot of heat, getting cooked over copyright infringement. 11 Labs ironically developed a better UI model for music generation with a lot more flexibility. And I think I did a video on that. But again, I'm not trying to take away from Suno. I'm just saying my preference is 11 Labs, but I do use Suno here and there. I do use MusicGPT here and there because I like to see what each platform can put out as a model, as a tool. And I do have to go back and re-engineer the song. I don't just put in a prompt and then crank it out. I have to always edit it. I have to clean it up, master it, or whatever. Sometimes I have to cut it in pieces and re-engineer it to a whole new track. I did a video on how I do that. So this video, I'm going to play a comparison so you can get an idea. Now, as you can see, the interface rather similar. Let me shrink this a little bit so you can see. Close that. Trying to get it fit in. So, they both have their prompt text box, their title. They do have their side panel. And their home page is kind of like a library of already released songs from the artists that produce the songs or generate the songs and upload it in their subscription. Now, Suno apparently is allowing short form visualizers. There is an app that works with Suno. I haven't tried it. I've seen it promoted, but I haven't tried it because, like, when I make my music, I'm not really too big on generic music videos. Reason being, a lot of it to me is kind of bland. It's like now music videos are almost the same content you see on social media. And I guess I can clearly say I got addicted to like the quality of Michael Jackson's videos. If you go back and look at Michael Jackson's videos to this day, they age really well. Like his music videos are like watching a short film. Music videos we have today are not short film content at all. It's like, again, like I go on my TikTok, and as soon as I get in my feed, I have a bunch of women dancing. It's literally, I could literally take the same concept they're doing in their living room or their bedroom and then slap it to one of my songs. Although I do make more or less metal mixed with EDM. You really can't dance to that. So the homepage is very similar, except you have the videos. Your sidebar is kind of intuitive. You have a little bit more on Suno's side because Suno's been out for a little bit, but um, MusicGPT is fairly intuitive. You have your settings, submenu, have your playlist. And what's nice, you just click it and then it opens a pop-up window. So that's pretty neat. It doesn't really take up, you got your sidebar that slides out and then now, however you like it, that's how it is. Um, your profile is accessible here. You have your editable profile option here, share view, and then your actual playlist. With Suno, of course, if you're already there, you already know how this is set up. You have your search bar, you have your studio, which they added in a couple of months ago, if not last year. You have your library where you have all your tracks and whatnot, and you got your credits, labs, and all that. So you have more in here. MusicGPT is developing more stuff as it gets more popular, but overall, it's pretty cool. You have your account options here. You can you can actually do some nice uh, editing and mixing with your songs. This is kind of pulling from, I guess, like the models ChatGPT or 11 Labs use when it comes to mixing modules. And then you got your downloaded format, MP3 and WAV. Wave, if you don't know what Wave is just a much larger music format. Gives you more bit rate. So it's basic, like it says, studio quality. So like if you record your music at a higher bit rate, you're mixing it at a higher bit rate. It won't compress it to a lower standard, which I think it's right now it's 360 kilobytes per second. I think that's the compression standard. Now you can go lower than that. So Wave is just a raw format. Usually, and that's if you transfer your music from one engineer to the next, you'll save it as a wave. But I think most people now do their own music in house, so they don't really mess with that format too much anymore. And you got your subscription range and promos. So overall, it's pretty intuitive. I mean, again, it's got all these sub menus here, but overall, like I said, the quality in music is very similar, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate here. Now, I did these songs over a few months. The setup is similar, just different menus. The newest song I did earlier this month was called Earth as a Character, and I'm going to play. Now, I have two accounts, but I'm going to play the songs side by side in comparison, so you can see the sound quality and the difference, and you can make your choice which model generates the song better. So we're going to start with this one here. That's about 1 minute of that variant. And we're going to play the first variant in Suno. We'll play about a minute worth.
I stood out in the 102-degree desert winds, staring at the mountain range. not able to walk any further. After all, when nature is beautiful at its worst, you know you're tired forever.
Alright, that's sample number one on both Suno and MusicGPT. I'm going to play a song number two. We're going to start with Suno first.
I stood out in the 102-degree desert winds, staring at the mountain range, not able to walk any further. After all, when nature is beautiful at its worst, you know you're tired forever.
I let that play a little longer because most of the lyrics was in the beginning of the song with the little choral. I guess you could say it's like a chorus chant, or more like a choral chant. Alright, so we're going to try Music GPT with its second variant. Alright, those are two samples from Suno and Music GPT. And you can hear the different quality, difference in the aesthetics, style. Me personally, I feel like Music GPT pulled more of a modern traditional Chinese flavor into its generation versus Suno. I think it was more of a pop cultural style, like almost like a Chinese pop rhythm, you know. And again, it's based on your taste. Now, usually when I make music mixed with culture, I prefer more of a balance of the cultural flavor mixed with the modern style. So, me personally, I would go with Music GPT, you know. So, we're gonna go with two more samples. Now, I'm not gonna do the previews because again, like sometimes the previews are on point, sometimes it's not. But what I try to do is whenever I'm testing any type of generation, whether it's text, story, or music, or image, or video, I like to use the free models because you are going to be burning your points if you're paying for your subscription models to generate. And then by the time you get what you want, you don't burn through half your points. And now, if you run out, you got to purchase more. If you use the free models, you can get what you can get out of it. And then, if you're lucky, if you're able to download that free model and then re-upload it as an example in the paid generated or prompt text box, you can build off of that. Or you can get the closest track you can, use the same prompt if possible, and generate it in the subscription variant, and then see what works. Because you like every time the song may not come out the way you want to, you're gonna have to change your prompt. You're gonna have to edit your prompt, or you're gonna have to regenerate the prompt to come up with what you want. So I always like to test it in the free models before I even think about paying for it, because you don't want to waste your credits. This stuff is expensive. All right, so we're gonna play song 3. We're gonna start on MusicGPT and listen to the songs comparison.
I stood out in the 102-degree desert winds, staring at the mountain range, not able to walk any further. After all, when nature is beautiful at its worst, you know you're tired forever. RT Wave.
All right, it's MusicGPT's variant. We're gonna go with Suno now.
I stood out in the 102-degree desert winds, staring at the mountain range, not able to walk any further. After all, when nature is beautiful at its worst, you know you're tired forever.
All right, that's song number 3. And as you can see, this second generation, it was the same prompt. It's just it changed the title a little bit and the style changed. Now, for me, it sounded more of a, like, let's say, 60s or 70s, like classic theater style. Like it's something you would, mix with like a mob scene. If they were doing like a stage play or a stage performance. But again, it changed the style a little bit. And again, you have to understand it's pulling from multiple sources based on the title. I didn't tell it to change the title, so that's something you have to pay attention to. Suno kept the title the same. A lot of times it will change this title a little bit, depending on how many times you regenerate. But you know, again, it's good to try your prompts on the free model first until you get what you like, and then you can edit it or remix it later. And so last 2 songs were with.
the mountain range, not able to walk any further. After all, when nature is beautiful at its worst, you know you're
I'm
tired.
not gonna lie, this one I think was one of my favorites that Suno generated. And then MusicGPT, I went to the first two. The first one I played was my favorite too. So again, you will have your favorites and your not so favorites, but like I said, it's good to like at least test your prompt on the free model first to see how it sounds, how it works with what you describe. Because a lot of times, similar genres you pick, it may not be able to pull reference from it. And you can tell by going through the tools genre models so you can get an idea of what you're going to be walking into. Like, for instance, I do a lot of like um, dark core and death stuff and dark wave. There's very little reference for that. It's very complicated to pull something like that. And trust me, I will have to constantly regenerate just to get something close to it. And so, I have to find another model that could pull music that's close to it. And that's why I use three models when it comes to music generation. I haven't found a fourth one yet, but I always keep looking. Let's see what's out there because you never know. You might have another open source AI tool that might have something or might do something better than the so-called, you know, branded tool that everybody likes to use. So, all right, well, last song.
I stood out in the 102-degree desert winds, staring at the mountain range, not able to walk any further. After all, when nature is beautiful at its worst, you know you're tired forever, forever.
All right, so now you have a taste of an alternative to Suno. Again, there's other songs I've generated mostly in Suno over I would say 2 years I've used it. I have two accounts because again I use the free tool so I can, you know, test and see how my generations work. This moment I have to, pull from different sources and have the loop broken down into a prompt so I can understand what type of beats they use, type of instruments they use. Because when it comes to digital music, you're not using real instruments anymore. People are just creating sounds and beats and mixing it up. So if you hear something that's unique or whatever, you want to make something better. Nowadays, you have to either know what they did or you have to get AI to describe what the beat sounds like. So it's still a lot of work if you want it to sound good or professional. And I put a lot of time into trying to figure out what beats I want, what instruments I want to use, and what genre. And I have to think carefully how I want to mix everything together. And I have to think in my brain, how is this going to sound? And I do that before I click generate, so I can get an idea of how I am looking for it to sound. That way, once this generated song comes out, I can say yes and no. Because I don't like AI music slop. There's a lot of it. I'm not gonna lie. There is a ton of it. Even in the platforms, I guess preview library. I can't even tell you how many times I try to listen to other people's music generated songs, and it's like god awful. I think I only heard one out of the 2 years I've been practicing on how to create AI music professionally. Only one sounded good to me. That's sad. It's tough. That truck is tough. So take your side. If you want to stick with Suno, great. Policies are changing. With Music GPT, they're changing their policy too. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now what I noticed with this AI music war that's going on just recently, and I don't know when they did this, but just recently, Music GPT also limited download amounts. So it used to be, or you get like 500 credits for Music GPT. Um, it uses, or maybe it's 50. I think. Let me see if I can find where it would show. Okay, I think it's 500. I don't know why it's up there. So it's not really showing. Okay, I think it's 500 credits. I forgot where it actually showed how many credits you have. Anyway, per generated song, I think it uses like about 100 or 50. So it does two versions, and I think it uses 50 per version, so you use 100 total. Whereas Suno, it's pretty steep, but it generates four songs, so you gotta be careful how many you generate. Now with Music GPT, those credits will also be applied to when you download. So it actually legit, as you can see here, unlimited streaming, free download, no copyright issues, wonderful. It legit allows you to download within your credits. Suno on the other hand, if you want to download anything, yeah, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to pay for it if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. Oh no, you can get the MP3, but I'm trying to think because I haven't downloaded it in a while. I think if you download it anyway, it might. I forget. Then again, like I said, it'll watermark it to not be commercialized. Which, if you put it on a distributor's platform or just the music platform, it will be flagged for non-monetization. So again, it's already been watermarked, but they're trying to, I guess, watermark it so the platforms can figure out with their AI tool if it's AI or not. Because I guess people have found a way to get around. Um, or it may not be getting around, but I think it's what one YouTuber said. People are cranking out a lot of AI generated songs, whether they sound good or not. And if they already have a lot, like 10K followers, they're going to like the song no matter what. And it's crazy because I've heard professional artists I follow crank out crap, legit crap songs. And they're not making albums, they're just dropping tracks, track after track. And it sounds horrible. It's almost like they're not putting any effort. So I know this platform, it won't allow you to monetize it, but Music GPT will allow you to monetize it. See, it says royalty free, no copyright issues, but you will use your points. So that's the big difference. But now you, they have it where you can only generate one song a day now. You used to be able to generate as much as you want, so they because it's free, and now they cut back to the people probably used to burn through their points, and then buy another group, burn to that, buy another, because you can just pump out however much you want, run through free stuff first, and pump out whatever you pay for. And the songs typically sound better, or if not the same as Suno with less restrictions. But again, I just did the comparison. You can go back and listen to the songs side by side. You can have your own opinion. But yes, Music GPT for me is a really good alternative to Suno if you don't like the policy changes. I don't suggest you drop Suno 100, but at least try another tool to produce music, and then kind of work with all the platforms. Because sooner or later, what tends to happen is when one platform creates a policy change that restricts users, the next platform follows suit. And it's kind of strange like that. You very rarely will have like one that will stand out and say, "No, I'm not doing that." I cater to my clients, my customers. So most platforms, they like to control the customers because they know the customers are loyal enough to not put up a fuss and just deal with it anyway. As much as they add more and more restrictions, and it's a sad situation. But hey, if you know, you know.